Equality is going to keep increasing, and it's going to get more and more difficult. This is social Darwinianism, okay, in effect, in our culture, in our system, and we're accepting it. And that's just what they want people to accept. And very intelligent, very well-meaning people are starting to do that. When they condemn other people that are struggling, okay, and they say, well, you ought to just get with the program, okay? That's their answer, is to get angry with them when it's not their fault. Remember, the poverty is being induced. It's deliberate. It's being created through deliberation. They're discussing amongst themselves, and diabolically, craftily, and cunningly, they are imposing it on us incrementally, like the frog in the boiling water, and then they keep us in the dark like a mushroom. And they're feeding us crap and BS all the time. The mainstream media, a bunch of liars and cheaters and thieves. They're all working. To me, they're all part and parcel with those same crooked politicians that I'm talking about that signed off on this illegitimate loan from the Federal Reserve Bank. Okay, they're all part and parcel. They've all caused these problems. Okay, and we're not educated correctly. It's their job to educate us. Have they done that? Okay, they have not done that. Okay, they have failed miserably. That's why there is so much confusion. That's why there is so much division. That's why there is so much ignorance, because the mainstream media has not been doing their job. You've got to educate people. You've got to tell them the diabolical nature of the people that create the policies that are crammed down the throats of people at large, everyday Americans, just regular people. They're crammed down our throats. Okay, we don't want this mess. We don't want an ever-growing wealth and income disparity. We don't want ever-growing desperate poverty. No, of course we don't. We don't want ever-growing inequality. How is that American? This is bad, real bad. And what did it is these they've used crony capitalism. That's how they've done it. Okay, so people said, I got to get on that bandwagon, the bandwagon of evil, where people somehow they justify it, they rationalize, they say, I've got kids, I've got to survive, I've got to make people proud of me, this is success, right? So define success, define prosperity, and it all has to do with money in this realm now. So it's not like I don't understand. I'm not going to play stupid with anybody. I get it fully, but I say, why should I put out an ounce of energy toward being rich and prosperous and successful as defined by the world and the establishment? Okay, while I see the problems increasing, if I can't enjoy it, why bother? Okay, I don't get it. So no, I don't understand anybody that cares so much about their prosperity. I almost feel blessed, lucky that I'm poor. I really do. I mean that. And I know that it's a tough way to pick up chicks, man. But I also know there's a lot of women that would like to have me. I know how it is. I know the score. And I'm not a scammer. I hear of all these scams. You watch Dr. Phil. I mean, it's not just the women getting scammed. The men are getting scammed with, pay this Nigerian queen, this X amount of money and however the scam works. These what do they call these? Well, that's one of the scams, right? But, people are losing their money through these Nigerian scams. But the other one is these people that pretend to be suitors for them, right? So the woman starts sending this guy a lot of money. And it's not even a real picture. It's just some random picture some guy stole somewhere. And he's using it as his profile picture. And here, send me money, honey. I really need money. And, so she starts sending it, or he starts sending it. These things happen. And it's pretty messed up, I got to tell you. So just to finish that point, I'm not saying that, a guy has to have bread, that, you can't find a woman if you're poor. I don't blame that. I just know this much, that women appreciate a guy that has some financial security. And I understand that more so than men, because these are the nesters, okay? These are the ones that want to be taken care of. It's almost like an instinctive kind of thing, that God made the man and woman different. So I understand women that want a guy that's going to provide at least some financial security. So I just don't bother women. If I don't have it, I say, you know what, I'll wait and see what happens here. I've already had 3 beautiful kids and a beautiful marriage and beautiful wife, and so I know what that's like. I've already experienced it. I recommend everybody experience it. So I think in Joe Biggs, he was talking about this and with these guys, is that they don't get married, they don't have kids because he's got a kid. He's either had a kid or he's got one on the way, but I don't know if he's married or whatever, but he doesn't talk about it. But, so I think that's all well and good, but that's another thing, that if you read what happened during the Great Depression, is that people stop having children, okay, because people can't afford to have children. And so they, so they don't. And that's what it amounts to, because they can't afford it. That's different. Cultures are different. If you go to this continent of Africa, you'll find that that people have more kids because they, because they feel like, hey, well, at least maybe one of these will be successful and take care of the rest of the family. But in the Anglo-Saxon culture, okay, it's a little different. That's a lot of the people that migrated here. I know there's a lot of Slavs. I know I got Slavic in my ancestry. My mother's maiden name was Restovich. So that was a Dalmatian name, which is just a little island off the coast of Croatia. But anyhow, how did I lost my train of thought there? But my phone had rung. Yeah, my train of thought. I was just talking about the the makeup of the early settlers in America. I just met an Indian friend of mine. He does his signature gathering for ballots initiatives and makes his money off these signatures that he gathers. But he's a Native American Indian, and we had a discussion. He was worried about Trump getting rid of some kind of protections for the Indians and all this, and I didn't express the same concern because I'm actually opposed to affirmative action programs. Again, I believe I'm a good American, and the Indians were involved in our Constitution too. So this is a matter of equality. So while I believe the Indians should be entitled and righted and have the same privileges as everybody else, I don't think they should have special privileges, and it's the same for everybody. So what am I saying? That's it. Is that the whites and get no advantage. Okay, that's it. No advantage over the blacks, no advantage over the Native Americans, no advantage against Latinos or Asians or anybody else from any other culture. Okay, that's it. That we have equal rights, equal entitlements. That's what a good American is to me. So anyhow, that's my point about, birth rates dropping off. That's true. It happened during the Great Depression. It's happening again. People just don't have the mojo, man. They don't see it. They don't see a promising future. If you're just being brought up and bred, farmed essentially to be a rent slave, okay? What is that? Okay, but that's what we're trying to tell you, the millennials, to do, Joe Biggs. I mean, come on, man. Is that so great? Just get out there and become a rent slave, right? Is that it? Is that what they should do? Because California is setting the trend, okay, for the rest of the nation, and less than half of California are homeowners now. Okay, do you think they want that? Take a poll and ask. I don't need to know that the vast majority of those people that are forced into a rental situation, okay, and remember, the government's involved there too with this Section 8. So the taxpayers are forced to pay this, subsidize these problems, and exacerbate them. Okay, remember what's going on here. Okay, this is a ploy. It's a scam. It's a scheme. It's a theft of the wealth of the nation, which is the people. The wealth belongs to all the people, not some of the people. And whatever jobs people do, they want to be rewarded in a proportional manner that makes sense. That they say, I can sink my teeth into that. There's hope of a sense of ownership, because that's what, at the end of the day, that's what people want. They want to be a part, like they've got a slice of the pie, that they've got a piece of the culture, and that they have a sense of ownership, at least a sense of ownership, because there's no real ownership. Everything is temporary. We're just passing through. Everything is temporal, right? Nobody gets to really keep anything, so nobody really owns anything. You're going to leave it to somebody, okay? So, I mean, it's just, good God, let's get with it and have some mercy and sympathy for people. Because, we're leaving a mess. We're leaving a mess, man. Our culture has been destroyed. And Joe Biggs, you're a much younger guy, man. You don't remember being a little kid and seeing JFK murdered and understanding later what that was all about, why he was so controversial and why he was so hated by the money masters. But I do. And a lot of people from my generation do understand what happened there and how this whole thing got started, man, how this train got chugging down this track. To this day, it's got momentum. It's got inertia. Our currency is still being destroyed through cost of living increases. That's taxation. Be very clear. And if you've got another idea, then explain it to me. Let's talk terms. What is a tax? A subjective term. What is cost of living increase? That's a collection of words, but it's a term, cost of living increase. In fact, what do they call a COLA? COLA, a cost of living adjustment. Everybody knows that. It's the acronym, cost of living adjustment. COLA. Okay? If you don't get a commensurate COLA, okay, and your cost of living is increasing, then there's no difference, mathematically speaking, than if you got a pay decrease. Now, how long is that sustainable? Okay? How long? It's untenable. It cannot go on indefinitely. It's a Ponzi scheme. It's a pyramid scheme. It's fraud heaped upon fraud. And all you do by partaking in that is putting your stamp of okay. You're consenting to it, saying, oh, well, this is okay that you use me as a rent slave. I've just been bred like a farm animal to go out there and just keep somebody else wealthy, while I myself will never have any wealth, and I'm going to be dependent on the government later in life when I'm not so strong and capable. You're prescribing a social Darwinian economics. Well, you don't have to explain to me, but you will stand before your creator and you will explain your logic, your philosophy, your belief system to a holy, rational, intelligent God. That's not going to buy a lot of nonsense, psychobabble rolling around in your head or mine or anybody else's. We've got to be ready to give account for our belief system, account that holds water, that makes sense, that is logical and mathematically provable. And that's all I try to do. I try to tell people that they shouldn't consent. They shouldn't accept ever-growing tyranny. Remember what Thomas Jefferson said, that the degree of tyranny you live under, and understand how you're being tyrannized, through the destruction and the worth of your currency. So whatever amount you tolerate, that's what you're going to get, and then a little more, to make sure you don't ever think about becoming free from the money masters. So, a word on so many that call themselves liberals that are, trying to shut down free speech. That is not a liberal value. And I see that this is a talking point because I watch videos that InfoWars puts out. You can see people are being paid to go out and protest other people's free speech. Okay, that is evil. That is so un-American. And if George Soros is behind that, if that can be proved, that he needs to be brought before the House on Un-American Activities Committee. Okay, that's right. The House on Un-American Activities Committee. George Soros needs to be put before them. If he is funding these groups, and that can be proved, because this is purportedly what's going on. I don't have all the information. I hear things. I hear that Craigslist was putting out ads saying $50 or $30 an hour here in California to go out and protest at Trump rallies, and preferably cause trouble. Make a scene, be violent, so that the violence can be blamed on the Trump supporters. I get my ace bandage back on. My elbow is really sore. Oh. But anyhow, that's not a liberal value, shutting down free speech, okay? We've got to discuss things. This is what they want, because then we can't talk things and hash things over, and get to the bottom of things, and then, say, you're right, you're right. So the good liberals come together with the good conservatives, the good Republicans come together with the good Democrats, the good communists come together with the good capitalists, and we say, hey, we're all together here on the same page, the side of humanity. Let's go out and do something for humanity. Let's work together here to heal this divide, to be God's servant of our own free will and accord. Because at the end of the day, that's what it all comes down to. That's what's most important. Not pleasing men, but getting things done, man, for Him. God wants things fixed on earth. It's not His will when we've got these problems, these social, economic, and political problems that have affected our society all around the world. All the crime, the dubious war, the debt, the abortions, the crime, the high crime rate, All this stuff is related to Satan and his power that comes from the money and all the sycophants and minions thereof, witting or not. This is why we have the problems. We've got to understand what's going on here and how the problems keep expanding and flourishing and how it's got to come to an end. And anybody can see that. It can't go on forever. It's got to collapse. God's always trying to do things gently. He never wanted things to get out of hand. If God had his way, JFK would be pretty, although God probably knew that the timing was wrong. It wasn't going to be allowed. But now I believe the timing is right for humanity to be set free. And Trump is leading the way. I believe that. Okay, I could be wrong. Okay, but nevertheless, I'm betting